Yo, what is up you lot? My name is Asai, back with another Last of Us video, and today we're going to be discussing the LGBT role of Ellie in the second part of The Last of Us 2. Now this is going to be very significant as we've gotten hints that it does appear that Ellie will very much have an active romance / relationship storyline, which is most likely going to be a subplot to the main plot. Now, how can we speculate this? Now, it's quite easily actually. Now, you probably heard the news about The Last of Us 2 being banned in Middle Eastern countries, with the main ones being the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. Now, Reddit users have found this out due to the game not being available on the local PlayStation store of Middle Eastern countries. This was confirmed due to The Last of Us being banned in those countries, which is nothing that, the PlayStation, Sony or Naughty Dog can do about it. The Middle East isn't the most welcoming part of the world to the LGBT community, so this isn't a really big surprise to me. Now, I have a decent amount of Middle Eastern fans, so I do apologize if you've been hit negatively from this. I assure you there's ways where you can still play the game and get around this predicament. But because of this unfortunate news, we can actually speculate quite accurately that Ellie is actually going to have some sort of active relationship with another woman, which is going to be a key part of the game. I don't think the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia mainly banned the game just because finding out that Ellie's a lesbian, but rather, when the game got sent out for those countries, upon review of the game, it must have appeared that The Last of Us 2 acquired an active theme of homosexuality as opposed to just a passive undertone where, a couple hints here and there, which is why it led to the banning of it in said areas. Now, of course, this only makes sense because if you think about it, in the first Last of Us, Ellie being a lesbian was never really a secret. Maybe in the first game, it was pretty much, not confirmed. Obviously, it wasn't really confirmed, but there was faint hints in the first game. But obviously, the DLC of the first game, the left behind DLC that truly set in stone her love for Riley, of course. However, a DLC is just a downloadable content. It's a small part of the game, and it's kind of seen as a secondary as opposed to the actual game, and thus it could explain to why it wasn't banned at the time in those countries, because they didn't really probably review the game. They probably thought if the first game, The Last of Us 1, was approved in those countries, why would they not approve the DLC? So it probably does make sense to why the first game and the DLC was actually fine. However, obviously the second part of the game, which is a whole new game, it's not a DLC, was obviously banned in those countries. Now, obviously, in terms of her romance role, obviously now that Ellie's above 18, Naughty Dog does have more choice to explore her romance story without obviously ethical reasons being in question, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with under 18s and romance in video games, it can be quite weird for the developers and unethical to some of the players, of course. But here, The Last of Us 2 has been very vocal with Ellie's romance. In one of the first ever trailers we got, she is seen romantically dancing with Dina, who, funnily enough, could pass for a Middle Eastern. Now look at the irony. Now, anyway, for the ratings for The Last of Us 2 has been confirmed that there's going to be themes of sexual and nudity, which most definitely confirms there to be a subplot, or even Ellie's romance can be part of a main plot. Whether obviously Ellie's role as a romance partner is going to be in the main plot or is going to have more of a secondary subplot, obviously we'll have to wait till June 19th to find out. However, it's going to be very interesting to see whether it's going to be the driving force for Ellie's survival or merely just a new experience for her. Once again, main plot or subplot, it depends. Ellie is definitely going to have a romance storyline, which is obviously going to be interesting to see how it all falls in with her survival and her current father figure relationship with Joel. It kind of begs the question how significant of a role Joel is going to be and how much influence does Joel have on Ellie's decisions. But most importantly, I do hope that Ellie's romance does work out in a positive way and rather it's not used for a filler, as unfortunately some games and even some movies, they're not sure what to do. They just cause a romance storyline, which is often used as a filler for the main plot as opposed to actually aiding and contributing to the main subplot of a story. I'm pretty sure you guys can understand. Now, for the question of today's videos, what do you guys think about Ellie finding romance and expressing hope? Do you think it's going to ruin / take away important gameplay, or kind of waste some of the main plot and use some of this filler plot? Do you even think it's going to be a filler plot, or do you think it's actually going to aid the storyline in a positive way? Do you guys think that this is significant for Ellie, especially in a world like The Last of Us 2? Is it going to fit right with the storyline? Do you think that's going to be true, or do you just think it's just going to be filler? Once again, it's this whole idea is, obviously, I think Ellie's definitely going to have a large role in terms of romance in her storyline. However, the question is it going to be filler, or is it actually going to be Aiden's storyline? Now, I personally think that this can be utilized in a very effective way, as it can actually slow down the plot in a good way, where we can learn more about, Ellie's significant other, but most importantly, we can learn more about Ellie. Obviously, right now, all we know about Ellie is the first game, coming from Joel. We kind of base Ellie based on her, you know, relationship with Joel. Obviously, we all love Ellie, we all like her as a character. We can have a very different Ellie now. Obviously, Ellie has matured, Ellie has grown. Ellie is a complete different person. She's seen way more crap, etc. So obviously, Ellie could definitely be a very more even unlikable character, so you never know. But I do think if there is a romance storyline, it could help like the game to slow down and cause for more character development. You know, maybe in one scenario, Ellie's telling her significant other about a very bad time that we don't know about. You know, maybe after the events of The Last of Us 1, maybe obviously off screen, Ellie had a traumatic experience with something, and then Ellie could talk about it to her significant other, and then in that way we kind of learn more about Ellie. But yeah, I definitely do think this can be very crazy in a good way. Of course, I do hope it was you know, it's not filler. I do hope that it aids the storyline. It's obviously Ellie's LGBT role is going to be a huge role and a huge part of the game, and we're gonna have to wait till June 19th to find out how significant and how well it fits in with The Last of Us 2 world. However, you know, for the comments, if you do decide to comment, obviously there are spoilers around, whether it's fake or real, you know, it's up for question. However, if you do decide to comment, make sure to comment your opinions, not only on this video, but what do you think about Ellie's LGBT/romance role in the game? Do you think it's going to be significant? Do you think it's going to be important? And obviously, do you think it's going to help the storyline? And, you know, let me know if you think it's going to be a subplot or a part of the main plot. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and in a bit.